Hey there. Okay. Brexit once again. So where are we at? Right. I had a little rethink of one of the things I said about Jeremy Corbyn and his negotiations with Theresa May. And I'm thinking, what is the incentive for him to reach a deal? Because that's only going to help her and going to help Tories in a way, because then she can get her deal through with something. A lot of the Tory Remainers will be happy. Then isn't it better for him to let the Tories tear themselves asunder and pick up the pieces and maybe have the chance of having a no confidence vote in the government to give himself a chance to gain power? So really, what's in it for him to cooperate with her? The next thing, I think we can have a little break over Easter. I think it's a wonderful thing because I feel that we are about to have a big reboot to Brexit. What those in power, and I've said it before, fail to realize that this Brexit thing has been brewing for a long time. Over the last 10 to 15 years, Euroscepticism, people who either want reform in the EU or who want to leave altogether, have been a consistent 52% of the population in polling, the exact percentage that leave one by. So, and also the recent developments have opened people's eyes. And in surveys, what are we saying? We're saying people don't trust politicians. People are angry at politicians. People don't believe democracy works. People are more politically aware, more politically awake, and far more engaged now. Yes, you get these people who are saying they're not going to vote again. But believe me, I think they say that given the chance, they will if they can see someone worth voting for. So I think people are becoming engaged. Not only that, people are becoming very, very, very angry. There's an upswelling now. She lied to us so many times. She told us we're leaving, we're leaving. We haven't left. And I think that we should really watch events very closely, end of April and the beginning of May. This is when Uranus is being triggered in the transiting Uranus is conjuncting Jupiter in the 10th house of the UK. This is when we have a fantastic possibility to maybe see the end of Theresa May. Perhaps it's going to come because on May 2, everyone goes out and doesn't vote for the Tories and they get a hammering because all the activists are now tweeting to say that they're getting an awful reaction on the doorsteps, that people are extremely angry, so much so that they've given up actually campaigning. So I think the message is beginning to filter through because those people sitting in their ivory tower, they don't know. They haven't got a clue. They are actually thinking they are getting away with what they're doing and no one's noticing. Wait till they feel the backlash. I think that's going to give the Tories the impetus to get rid of Theresa May, which is exactly what we need. So in some ways, this extension we've got now till October gives us the opportunity to reboot Brexit because really her deal is rubbish. The best thing that can happen really is we get a new leader and try and bin her deal and go back to the EU after they've had elections because Barnier and these people, they haven't got much time left till their tenure is over. I'm not sure about Juncker. He'll probably move to a new position. But for Hofstad, who's the chief Brexit negotiator for the European Parliament, he's going to lose all his power. So he'll be gone. So why make a decision now? I think the Tories in the ERG are going to push this until we've had both our locals and the European elections. And they're going to say, wait, okay, look now, everything has changed. What I also see in the chart is that January and February 2020 are going to be a big time for Brexit. This is when Neptune finally moves away from Mercury. So that will give us a lot of clarity. The time of October is when Pluto finally, it's finished dealing with the moon, but it does go into retrograde and it comes fairly close within the orb of our moon during October before it starts moving forward again away from the moon of the UK for good. So I do see that could be October, our break, and I see significant developments in the January and February. It does feel positive. It feels like we are getting somewhere in this fight. Hi, Chris. Hi, James. Alistair Campbell made an embarrassingly undignified tweet sulking about the EU wanting us to leave at this point. Oh, yes. Haven't we all heard enough of Alistair Campbell? Really, do these people ever just think it's time to be put out to pasture and go away? This sounds great. Yes, the end game is important. Hi, BD Bonds. He used to write for a porn mag. Yeah, he did. Absolutely, he did. You're quite right, Bailey Bonds. Worth mentioning that to everyone. Yes, Alistair Campbell did used to write for a porn mag. It says a lot about his morals or what he had to resort to make money. So he obviously hasn't always been at the top of his game, has he? I was really disappointed to find people like Nick Ferrari apparently saying that, he's bored of, he's frustrated by Brexit. He'd just rather remain now. Oh, come on. People have been through longer divorces than we've been going through Brexit. People have battled cancer. People have, lived in poverty. People have lived in austerity. There are disabled people. I think this is an insult to everyone who's ever battled a personal problem, because just the minor political inconvenience for people like Nick Ferrari, and he complains he wants to give up. Imagine if just 2 years after World War II, we'd all have said, wait a minute, this is too difficult. Let's just give up and let Hitler have our way. What's wrong with these wimps? Where is their spine? It's so disappointing that we have people like that. I, for one, never thought it was going to be easy. You can see all over the world, the globalism, it's got its tentacles into everything. Obviously, the way the EU was, it wasn't going to be easy. We have to stick with it and fight. And not only is it our fight, it's disintegrating from within. I know all us, Brexiteers are supposed to be narrow-minded, little Englanders and old fogies, but we can see what goes going on in the EU. We can see that everything's changing. And I mean, in terms of even the Remainers, a lot of Remainers are still only Remainers because they think that all the EU is a trading bloc and something that facilitates travel. If they really knew, which I think a lot of them are coming to understand, that it is a political dream of the United States of Europe with full harmonization of laws, VAT, tax, army, with one foreign policy, once a lot of Remainers wake up to that, which a lot of them just don't have a clue about, they will also begin to feel like us. Because within the United Kingdom, support for the EU has only been from a pragmatic trade point of view. I don't think anyone, even our politicians, because that came to light when they were campaigning for Remain, is they didn't really have anything good to say about the EU. It was just telling us, well, it's easier to stay in for trade. But they weren't really singing its praises and saying how wonderful it was that we should all merge into one. So really, the support for the EU isn't that strong to begin with in the UK, which is why our side has a lot of impetus behind us. And I think as Brexiteers, we're getting angry. We're getting feisty. And I just happened to be listening to the George Galloway show, and he said he talks to a lot of people, doesn't he, in his personal life as well, because he does talks and whatever. And he says that anger is palpable and he can feel something burning. And Steve Turley, I know a lot of you guys watch him, he says Brexit might just be about to really burst. So what we ain't seen nothing yet. So we've all got to hang on in there. We made the first crucial thing in voting out. We've seen an awful lot since then. I know the Remainers say, oh, well, we all know what Brexit is. No, actually, you don't. You ain't seen nothing yet, pals, because what we have seen is how our vote doesn't count, how the politicians in Parliament are trying to undermine us, tell us what we think and what we voted for, how they all go back on promises, how none of them keep to their manifesto pledges. I'm talking about Labour and the Tories, and it's woken us up to what they're all about. I think what some of you guys mentioned, you heard me chatting to George, and I rang him last week to clarify this point because it's something his callers have often mentioned. And he says the RMT union frequently say this on their Facebook page. Jeremy Corbyn cannot do his program of nationalisation, which is key to his manifesto pledges, while we are in the single market or in the EU. So all these Labour politicians are totally disingenuous when they stand on that platform of that Labour manifesto pledge, but at the same time say how wonderful the EU is, because the two cannot coexist. Being in the EU and Jeremy Corbyn's manifesto cannot coexist. So we can see this, those of us who are thinking, and you can see right through it. So, okay, let me read some comments. It's time you wrapped it up, Campbell. Yeah, that's for sure. Hi, Mary. Lisa, what do you think about Trump's influence as he's threatening to? I think it's fantastic. I think he can see that there's a lot of internal tensions in the EU. He also knows things are very shaky. I mean, the banks in Germany, and I also think there might be a bank collapse of a Spanish bank, judging on what I saw in their chart. He knows things are shaky, and he's going to rattle the cage a little bit more. He might be just going to pull the carpet from under them. I think it's a good thing he's doing. People say that Trump doesn't want to, he's against trade. He's not against trade. He's just for fair trade, and he's trying to level the playing fields again, because previous American administrations, for what reason I don't know, allowed other countries to take advantage, and he's restoring the balance. And the EU as a group do take advantage. They're a protectionist racket that's all coordinated to be what's good for Germany and to protect German industry. That's why they've got such big tariffs. Well, I don't know about the new trade deal with Japan, but that's why they had big tariffs on Japan and on other countries. So it's a protectionist racket, and he's showing them up for what they are. Do you think Assange is anything that could help people rise up? Well, I wish he has. I must say, if I have to, I think it's valuable what Julian Assange is, but I think what he's lacked in WikiLeaks is ever to have a real smoking gun. Because if you have to think back, yes, a helicopter shooting people in Iraq, obviously that's dreadful, but that wouldn't change politics in the UK. It would be fantastic if he could come up with some massive smoking gun against a key political figure here and in the US that would really wake people up. Because I find so many people on Twitter, they say, yeah, but, Julian, it was just kind of gossip, Hillary's gossip, and it was nothing really important in her emails. And one struggles to think, I don't think so. I think there was a lot in Hillary's emails about special interests, about the way they were trying to get 12 million out of the King of Morocco for political favors. It showed how she was selling influence, plus the really creepy, weird stuff like the spirit cooking, plus the fact that Chelsea's husband was getting money for his failing business from her campaign. I mean, all that stuff, and how they undermined, Bernie Sanders and all that. Do you notice Bernie Sanders got nothing to say about the extradition of Julian Assange? And I think that proves to me what I always thought about him. He was an opportunist windbag who's just coming out with the right talking points. Meanwhile, he's bang on message for the establishment. He's got no backbone, and look at it now. Can he say anything? It's only Tulsi Gabbard that has come out and said something in defense of Assange. I think Trump realizes from a tweet he said, where he said something about, oh, now the Mueller inquiry. Yes, I did think to say to my mom, it's funny now, Mueller inquiry ends, and now Assange is being extradited. Those two things are absolutely linked. The extradition of Julian is going to be the start of a whole new wave of trouble they're going to start making for President Trump, because it does also put him in an awkward position with his base, because a lot of us would be really upset if Trump saw Julian go down. So, but you never know. I mean, Julian must have so much he can throw at them, particularly with the whole thing about Seth Rich and where those leaks really came from. That's something which, if given an opportunity, he could say. But if his trial happens all in secret and it's under espionage rules, his lawyer won't even be given access to all the information, and it will never become public, so that takes away his power. But I do think Julian has prepared for this moment, and he will have lots up his sleeve. I think from what Giuliani has said, and also as reported quite a few months ago by Roger Stone, because Roger Stone was also involved in the whole thing that was going on with Russiagate. Roger Stone said Donald Trump's lawyer was saying that a publisher has to be protected, and I know Giuliani also thinks that. So I know some of my subscribers aren't fans of Rudy Giuliani, but he was saying positive things would give us a glimmer of hope that they wouldn't go too heavily on Assange. I think Trump will let this play out a lot longer before he intervenes. But I don't think that, I think from my reading of Julian Assange's chart, but I've yet to do the full thing because I only gave you teasers about it, is that it will work out well in the long run. Unfortunately, the damage to his health that it's done, I'm really concerned about his health from his chart, the damage that's been done to it. And now he's in Belmarsh, I hear, maximum security. It's just ridiculous prison. Privatization of sections of the NHS cannot be reversed due to EU competition rules. Yes, thank you, Welsh73. I've had fantastic comments from you. Really interesting. Thank you for that. Yes, James, of course, I'm hoping that Trump has something up his sleeve. When I speak to Remain people, believe it stopped World War III. Oh, can you believe it? Well, we've had plenty of wars. There's been trouble in Ukraine. We had Kosovo. We've had Serbia. We've had wars. We've had people in the EU, like Cameron and Sarkozy, causing a state to collapse in Libya, where we've now got 3 different sections and 3 different governments and 4 different presidents and open slaves being sold in open markets. So congratulations to them for that debacle, plus the trouble they caused in Syria. And then they say they haven't caused war. Well, no. Why would we fight Germany? Germany's taken over. There's no reason for a war, is there? Because we're all under the control of Germany. So that's a bit of a laugh. Remain people on my Facebook page are more concerned with the fact that their children may not be able to study overseas, and these kind of, you're going to give up democracy just because your children have to have a jolly in a foreign country. I talked about that before. It's just ridiculous. Tulsi Gabbard, yes, she's been one of the few Democrats that didn't have Trump derangement syndrome. I know that she went to talk to him at Trump Tower about Syria before he was inaugurated. And I think he took a sensible tack with Syria. I think that whatever has gone on could have been 100 times worse with Hillary. It would have escalated. Yeah, so there are some good people. I was just going to say about Julian Assange, of all the millions of vaults and all the tweets and everything that WikiLeaks have released, they have 100% track record of never getting anything wrong. They've never had to retract anything. They've never had anything wrong. What a wonderful track record, and yet they're in trouble, you know. But it wasn't that long ago that Julian was the darling of the New York Times and the Guardian. They were all courting him and publishing, and haven't they stabbed him in the back quickly, which should be a lesson to all these liberals. I want Theresa to resign. Oh, Fanny, I know. Every day, I tell you what, in my household, my mom and I, she's driving us mad. I've kept saying from the chart she's going, and it has. In the reading, it's looked imminent that she'd go. She's overstayed her welcome. I had a very interesting tweet from one of you guys out there who said that they've seen tweets that she's actually signed this agreement. That's why she's so desperate to stay and get it through. I actually believe that. It's highly possible she signed something, or she signed something with the EU. That's why she's clinging in there for dear life. But I also think that the ERG, Boris, and all the Brexiteers are playing a game. The whole thing's a gamble. It's all about timing. I think they've just been waiting for the moment when they can most effectively get rid of her. They got stung back in December, where they tried to get rid of her with a no confidence vote. Didn't work. So this time, I think they may be waiting for those May elections for a hammering, so they can say to her, no, you have to go now. They're waiting for a pivotal moment to kind of get rid of her. But I think it's probably good that she stayed this long, because we've got to see how she's lied, how she told us it would be the 29th of March, then that it would be the 12th of April, and how she keeps going with her begging bowl back and back to Brussels. It's waking everyone up. Every minute this goes on, people are getting more angry, and the ERG and Brexiteers will be able to capitalize out of that anger. So let's see what happens around beginning of May. Let's wait till Uranus really gets to work on Jupiter. That's when it just could burst. This whole Brexit boil that's just been building could burst, and we could see something happening. Personally, I'd rather wait till Halloween, till October, than be stuck with her agreement. You know, it would be perfect, wouldn't it, if the EU totally changes? There's lots of problems within the EU, with all the Eurosceptic parties surging in. And I do think, on my prediction in Finland, that the Finns party will do really well in the EU elections. Yeah. Obama, Joe Biden, and his son, also Clinton Foundation, are involved massively in Ukraine. Yes, absolutely. What's that other, the financier that was involved in Ukraine, and he was wanted in Russia? Forgotten his name now, but yes. Do you think Theresa can get through this time with Labour support? No, because I don't think Labour, it's not in Jeremy's interests. He's more interested in getting rid of her. I don't think he wants to support her, to help her get through. He wants to weaken her. So I don't think that's in his interest. To take down the legitimate leader who had a good relationship with Russia. Yes, was that Yevchenko? But you see, that was because as soon as Ukraine changed their policy from being pro-EU to pro-Russia, was the minute they, with Soros and CIA funding to the tune of billions. I think Soros put about $1 billion in, and the CIA about $5 billion, and to arrange this putsch, or this cover a revolution, to get a pro-EU leader in. Yes. So there you go. And Europe are involved in that again, meddling in that, causing trouble. And then they tell us, oh, Europe's kept the peace. It's a lot of old crock. And anyway, it's only been 75 years or 70 odd years since World War II. I don't think there's going to be peace much longer. I think the only way that Europe will be able to get out of the corner they're in terms of the financial mire that they are going to be in very soon, is to try and precipitate another war. Yeah, Soros. Yes, Soros. But there's another financier that I can't remember the name of. I know that Lee Stranahan talks about him, but he's, the thing's gone out of my mind. I was just going to say William Binney of the NSA was the one who said many times that the download speeds of the hacks or the leaks meant that they had to be leaks. They couldn't be hacks, because the download speed meant that they were being leaked on site or downloaded on site, not remotely. So it had to be someone within the DNC. But Julian was already incarcerated then, so it wouldn't really have been down to him. Okay, guys, I hope you'd enjoyed the update, and I hope you'd enjoyed my chart on Norway. Please have a look at that. Finland. Have a look at that. It might prove more interesting to you, even if you're not particularly engaged in Finnish politics. I enjoyed looking at their chart for the elections on Sunday, because it was something a little bit different. So nice to see you guys all on a Friday night. Have a brilliant weekend.